Caddis Maximus here, this time with a review of the DeWalt 52-piece Tradesman impact bit set. I found this at Lowe's for 15 bucks. I'd actually bought that, whatever it was, 24-piece Bosch bit set for 10 bucks, and I went in there a couple weeks later, and there was this 52-piece for 15 bucks. So maybe I should have held off, although I've never had Bosch bits before, and I actually do like them. This is actually quite a bit better deal. Being a Tradesman bit set, it just has the four most common styles of bits: Phillips, flathead, Robertson Square drive, and of course Torx. And it gives you a ton of the most common sizes. You get a total of 17 number 2 Phillips. You get a few slot heads, and so you don't use those as often. A total of 7 number 2 Robertsons and number 5 T25. What is nice is they give you a few different other sizes of the Torx, the Robertson, and the various other bits, so you aren't just having a few specific sizes. And it comes with a few 2-inch bits, and let's go ahead and get this open. Why am I talking so much about... wow, that is a tough plastic packaging right there. My goodness, this little saw certainly makes it short work of it. Too bad they don't sell this thing anymore, but there are some similar style saws out there on the internet. Here we are, much better now. We get quite a few bits. Look at all those little number 2 Phillips. Let's take a nice close look. They have these newer modified versions. They still hold the bits pretty tight, but that tilts them up at a 30-degree angle. This dovetail design that DeWalt's been using, I like just because there's so many increments, and because they've made so many different styles of bit holders that you can really set up some of these cases to hold a ton of bits. You can see that if you just had these angled holders, you could probably dovetail 6 or 7 of them on each side. But I also like that they came out with these little cases that fit in the dovetail. And this has been a standard for a long time. Even the old curved bit cases still use the same dovetails. Anyway, quick look at the Phillips, since these are pretty common. Usually when you want to look at the geometry, the overall geometry of bits, it's the Phillips that really makes a big difference. And this really doesn't look too bad at all. It really is pretty good and strong geometry. These don't have any flex torque or anything, so they are a little bit cheaper. And I think that the whole flex torque thing really is more of a gimmick to get you to buy more expensive bits. When really just these full tang bits are what I really like, just because they don't flex and they deliver more energy. And so even though you may have less broken bits, most times, especially for a tradesperson, they're not worried so much about breaking bits. They want to drive fasteners as quickly as possible and not waste energy through little torsion bars. I really do like these little flip containers. Looks like you could fit 4 of those in here. And they do sell bit sets. I was looking at Home Depot that just now come in these little containers. They should actually put this on the lower portion. It would have been easier to reach. That's actually a lot better. I like that. They did measure it properly so it can't sit down here, and those bits are up there, so now I have easy access to the switch. They should have shipped it like that. So they take all the extra misc bits and they just put them inside a bin like this, but I think that's just fine. It really allows you to get a lot more bits in there. And I could also see for a tradesperson that really works with just 4 different bit sizes that they could just have 4 of these yellow containers. We do have 3 of the most common nut driver sizes, as well as a little 1-inch bit adapter. I always kind of like these DeWalt ones because they've always seemed to work out well for me. One thing I did want to say is the fact that these bits are definitely a bit more cost conscious. They're calling them tough grip, not the tough Torx. And the tough Torx are these carbon ones, and these are really some of my most favorite DeWalt bits right here. So I'm sure they're not going to be quite that durable, but their fit definitely seems pretty nice. We do have a Tapcon here. If you ever want to do secure wood structures and you really want them to hold together, use these blue concrete rated screws. They are truly super heavy duty. What I think I'm going to do here is just do a couple little impact tests just to see how much this is a number 3 Phillips screw, but I'm going to use a number 2 because it fits well enough, and it'll put a little more stress, and we'll just see if do a little bit of impacting, run this in and out a couple times and see if if it's plainly obvious. And I like using a Tapcon for this kind of test now that I realize I found these. in my pile of fasteners because they are made out of hardened steel, and so they are a very tough fastener. Alrighty, here I have my famous wood block. People even ask me to review this, and it's not quite ready to be reviewed. I do have this DeWalt bit in here. I am going to use a hole that's already been made by 3-inch deck screws. This is far larger diameter and will still provide tons of resistance. And these things are really hard to get started in wood without any type of pilot. We'll be using a DeWalt 2nd Gen brushless DCF 887. That's going to be a hot fastener. And just to really see how it does, I have a Milwaukee, pretty nice Milwaukee electric impact wrench. This is one of the famous ones where they redesigned it from the ground up. Maybe around 300 foot-pounds of torque. And yes, I have a 1/2-inch drive, a 1/4-inch hex adapter. So let's really hit this bit with a lot of force and see how it does. Well, I got it spinning there. Let's take a look at that here, and we can see that the Tapcon screws really are a heavy-duty screw. That bit spun around in there quite a bit, and it just damaged just the slight inner lobes of that screw. Obviously, I was able to drive it and remove it, but to show you that was a very hard screw. And the bit actually fared, considering it really did fare pretty well. It really did spin in there pretty good right there at the tops of the flanks. That was the whole reason I used an undersized bit, was to really try and push it. And I'd have to say that's actually satisfactory. Just that little tester will show that these aren't just going to blow out, after 20 screws, even if a few of them do slip. So even though they're not as good as I would say the tough torque DeWalt bits are, for $15 for a 52-piece set, that really is a bunch of the most common sizes, which I think is intelligent. A lot of people do like a lot of variety in the bit sets, but some people also, are building decks and fences and all that kind of stuff, or doing operations where they're going to drive a lot of, Phillips or Roberts or Torx fasteners, and it's nice just to be able to pick up a set like this, which is going to have plenty of extra and be able to keep you going for whatever job you have. And it's kind of why I like these bit sets, because you can just grab them, because you'll know that, for some reason it's just as a rough day and you go through 10 bits, that you'll have 10 Phillips bits in there. Especially if you're in a situation where you may have to remove a bunch of old Phillips bits, then that's when you start blowing them out, and I think these aren't too bad. Oh, I almost forgot to say, whoop, look at what I did. One, don't forget that little window, and leave that little thing open. But the second thing is they've modified this case to kind of be like their interlocking cases. So this is designed where you can stack them, which is a good idea in some respects. But unfortunately, the latch just, my goodness, it just sticks out there. I mean, it's certainly easy to use, but too bad every time you have just the case by itself and you're putting it in a tool pouch or a tool bag or anywhere, if it ends up upside down, it's always just going to be knocking that latch open, and so this thing's always going to be falling open. I think they could have left the slide latch, which I like because they're really secure, and still found some way of being able to clip the cases together, because that's going to get annoying having this latch just constantly coming open. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.